Okay, everybody, this is Jonathan Hurley's question, and just want to say it is the last question. Thank you.
Yesterday, at the conference, we decided to support the Laughing Boy Bill. Thank you for that. Which means we will be talking about it. At the moment, the bill has 8 good ideas, clauses into which we hope to see become a law. I want it to be law myself, personally. Until the law is changed, there are some things the North West Regional Forum, Family Forum, and the bosses could agree do now in principle. I'll just explain this as well, and I'm sorry about this bit as well. My MP, Luciana Berger, in Wavertree, Liverpool, hope to be here today, but was called to Adrian Business Empowerment, and we do apologise. However, she has answered the questions by email today, this morning and this afternoon, and I have set these to Lynn, who's sitting on our table. Luciana is interested in the campaign, so am I, about Connor, and I would like to put her in touch with you from the father. She can learn more. Is that okay?
Yes. That's great, thank you.
I'm not finished yet. Connor and Thomas died, as we all know. We do not want anyone else to die so far away from their families. I really wouldn't have that either, personally, not with my father. What will you do to stop the abuse of power that moves people so far away from people who love or loved them and brings people home quicker? Will you support the Laughing Boy Bill? Because personally, I'm backing it all the way, because I believe no one should not be abused in any way, especially people who are so vulnerable. I believe one thing: we're supposed to live a life, we're right to have a life and right to enjoy your life. So please don't abuse us.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Conference, for taking an interest in the bill. I mean, I think there are so many things I could say. I can only really talk about our experience. We were structurally, we were systematically stopped from really being involved in Connor's care. We didn't want that. He went into this unit. We thought we were buying time. We had, you know, things had become a bit difficult. We thought he was getting some time for a bit of a cooling down. We were getting some time, and service providers were getting some time to all help us come to some sort of conclusion about what was best for Connor. One of the problems is that, you know, the first time you go into a place like this, you've got no idea what it should be like. You don't know what good practice looks like. No one tells you. You assume, I did anyway then, I know very differently now, that everything is there to try and help. we have a 15-year-old son who was 13 when Connor died. He'd shared a room with Connor since he was born. He wasn't allowed into the unit in the 4.5 months Connor was there. They said it was against policy. Connor was restrained in the unit repeatedly. He had never been restrained before in his life. He didn't need to be restrained. He was a very non-threatening human being who did not need physical restraint. I'd never had to put a hand on him in his entire 18 years, but he was restrained. Our experience of that unit was that there were obstacles placed in our way. We were not once consulted over his care plan. We were not asked anything about him. We were denied the opportunity to provide to the staff our expert knowledge of what Connor liked or was like. This went so far as for them to record him having a brother and sister called Dappy and Talisa. They from N-dubs. He didn't have a brother and sister called Dappy and N-dubs. Nobody asked us. It wasn't about us intruding into this. It wasn't about us being the only people with a view. We wanted to work with the experts and specialists to do the best for Connor. We had no preconception he would come home. That wasn't what it was about. If that was the best solution, then he would come home. If there was another solution, then that was fine. We just wanted to work with everyone, and we weren't allowed to. Our bill is it's a result of what we've seen so many times with friends, family, and others. We just want to try and put a gap in there so that the thoughts, reflections, and the wishes of the learning disabled person are given at least the weight of the professionals, and that things cannot be done to people against their wishes, and more onus is placed on listening to individuals, their carers, their families, their advocates, people who care about them. We were treated as if we didn't care about Connor and that we'd spent no time with him, as were his brothers and sisters and his grandmother and his friends, and it's not on. We wouldn't do this to any other person in our society. And he'd done nothing wrong. That's what I can't understand. He'd done nothing wrong. He needed some support and help. And we never got the chance to provide that, and unfortunately, we all know the story. He drowned unattended in the bath on the 107th day he was in the unit. And we never got him back. And that was that. And 19 months on, we still have a health trust trying to argue he died a natural death. So it really breaks my heart to listen to professionals say, we're going to improve services working together. I have no knowledge of what my colleagues on the panel are like, but my own experience from this and from other cases, it doesn't convince me that anybody really wants it to be better. And it's time they did. And they know what's wrong in their services. They must know what isn't working. It gets pointed out so often. Let's just be brave and say, we're going to stop this. We're going to stop it, and we're going to keep on stopping it, and we're not going to let it set in, and we're not going to listen to silly arguments about diagnostic shadowing and all the other stuff that gets trotted out as a reason for why people get such a bad deal when they have learning disabilities. It has to stop, really does, for all of us. And for the rest of us who are not learning disabled, we should be absolutely ashamed that our society behaves like this. Not now and again, but permanently. And until we are as a society ashamed, I'm afraid it will carry on. But we must try and make it a national scandal that learning disabled people are treated like they are. And we really have to keep on doing that. And I want to do that. Whatever happens with Connor's case, I want to help support that national scandal until we stop it and people are safe. I mean, I'm astonished that we're still talking about safe. I can understand it. I'm not dismissing it. But, people say to me when I go to meetings with advocacy groups and learning disabled people, and we say, what do you hope for the rest of your life? And they say, I'd just like to get on the bus without being abused. I'd like to get on a bus without being abused. I'd like to be safe. I'd like to have a home. I'd possibly like to do some work. I wouldn't mind having a relationship. These are basic human rights that everyone takes for granted. And our son was denied any possibility of having any of that. Simply because, it was all too easy not to do it. And nobody was really ensuring that the care was what it should have been. And that was because, I think, they didn't see him as a human being enough. Certainly not the same way as they would have seen their own children or their own family members. He was just somebody to be managed, someone to be kept somewhere until some other solution could be found and some other budget could be tapped into. But I would say that he was my son.
Pardon?
I think I should stand up and cover you up.
Pardon? Yeah, okay.
It's an honour to be next to you, and I hear stories like that not all the time, thank God, but I've heard stories like this. Do you remember what happened in Winterbourne? I've worked with some of the parents whose children who were there, their sons and daughters, and the girl who got abused, and her mum turned around and said to us, I didn't believe my daughter when she told me they were hurting her, because she didn't think they'd do it to her. And only that a reporter went in and caught it all on camera. Her mother now her mum and dad live with that guilt. That lady has been sent to 5 different homes because people don't know how to deal with her. The reason they don't know how to deal with her because she was abused, and there's no one there to give her the right support and help. One of the gentlemen who was there who was abused, his family was strong, and that finally got him out of there. He's living back in the community and in a paid job, got the right support, and all his family asked for was an extra hour support. And to do that extra hour, where they talk about this stupid red tape, is we got to do an assessment on you. So we do assessment on you, we'll send you to this place. We'll abuse you there, and we'll send you to another place, and we'll definitely abuse you there. How many more of our people are going to be abused before we put a stop to it? And I think from today, I promise you that me and Mark will take this back to the forum, and we will kick arses in that forum if they don't do something about it.
I just keep it really, really simple, because there's no way you can follow, those sorts of issues and without sounding trite, really. So we have to find ways of keeping people so they can stay at home, because they are safer, actually, if they're at home. We need to keep people close to those who love them. We need to keep people informed and involved in the care that they have, and those who are part of that person's life in that as well. I think, I did confess I didn't know anything about this bill when I came in. I think it's important to be honest about these things, so I will find out more about it. And there are opportunities to get our MPs involved in some of this. So it is possible, I think, to organise something where our MPs, 3 MPs in Salford, could meet maybe with self-advocates to go through the contents of the bill, so that we raise its profile in Parliament. And I'll read the 8 ideas, and it may be good if our safeguarding board also understood what was in the bill as well. So some very simple things.
I think the word that stuck with me, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking to hear Connor's dad speak about the experiences that your family have gone through. I can't imagine what it must have felt like for you all. I think what you've just said, Sue, is absolutely right. People need to stay in the communities. People need to stay in places where there are more people than just paid staff in their life. People who recognise them and people who like them and people who've known them for a long time. We can't have this happening. This has just got to stop. I think it's gratifying to see that everybody supports the Laughing Boy Bill. I will too. I'll do those actions that you suggest. This will go to our Health and Wellbeing Board, our Learning Disability Partnership Board, our Safeguarding Board. We also probably need to think about, this applies to the care homes we've got in our communities as well, not just specialist inpatient units up and down the country, because there are lots of people who are unhappy where they live at the moment, who feel that they aren't treated with respect, and who feel that they're being bullied and they aren't safe where they live right now. That also needs to be considered by people in our position. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few things from me. I mean, you spoke really personally there as a dad, and as a dad myself, the thing that I mean, the reason I came into this line of work is because I feel absolutely passionately about what I do, and the thing that keeps me awake at night isn't the fact that I've balanced the budget or that I've done all the appraisals. The thing that keeps me awake at night is, have I done everything I could that day to make sure that the people I'm there to serve and protect are safe? And that's the bit that keeps me awake at night. But that's the bit that drives me on as well. The other bit I just want to share with you is that in listening to Connor's experience, we label people too often, and then that label becomes what that person is. And we really need to challenge that, because things like challenging behaviour, it's not about challenging behaviour, it's about how the environment is constructed for that person that creates the tension. So we really need to challenge the labels. And the final bit was, I was at a meeting earlier this week where Lynn James Jenkinson was telling us about Emma's story, and the thing that struck me in there was the fact that when they look back over a year's worth of calendars and appointments, a lot of the stuff that they were going to and doing actually wasn't adding any value to their lives whatsoever. It was professionals going through a process that was ticking a box, and the family knew absolutely what was right for, in Lynn's case, her daughter. So, but thank you for what you've shared with us. Thank you.